Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host, Sri Iyer. And you all know a couple of weeks ago, there was a press conference which we covered live about the announcement of the formation of a committee to explore forming in Parliament in Hong Kong. So we have the latest information from Elmer Yuan because a lot of developments have been happening and we will bring you the latest. And let's welcome Elmer Yuan to our show. Elmer, namaskar and welcome to P Guru's channel.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Suri.
So, Elmer, I'm going to yield the floor to you. Take it away, sir. A lot of development since then, and I'll let you explain to our viewers what's happening. And I'm going to go into mute now. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. On July 27th, we have a press conference announcing we are going to have an elected, uh, uh, you, it's a general election for a representing body for Hong Kong called the Hong Kong Parliament. So everybody in Hong Kong and outside Hong Kong, we have about 2 million Hong Kong people have moved out of Hong Kong, and about 7.5 million Hong Kong people are still in Hong Kong. So they would be able to vote and elect their own parliamentarian. And this parliamentarian will be able to draft the constitution for Hong Kong and then go for a referendum of self-determination. So this is the idea, but it has to be elected parliament. So before the press conference, I already had warning from the national security people from Beijing, asked us not to do it on certain dates because Xi Jinping will be visiting Hong Kong. But at that time we were not really ready. But anyway, after the press conference, immediately there was a warning through Sasha Gong's relatives and also through my relatives in Hong Kong, reminding us that we have relatives in Hong Kong and in China, meaning that you better stop because otherwise your relatives would be hurt. And then within a week, the Hong Kong government have issued warrants for my arrest and the other two founders of this. Only the election. I'm not even talking about the Hong Kong Parliament yet. The organizer for the election. So three of us we received warrants for our arrest for breaking the national security law, for subverting the country, subverting the nation. So it's pretty serious stuff. But of course, we know the communists very well. So then, a couple of days later, my daughter-in-law, she is a member of the Legislative Council of Hong Kong, and she is a we call the pro-establishment, and we are the so-called, and she is pro-China, and then she have openly put it on the newspaper, very large prints, that she will sever the relationship with her father-in-law, which is me, and because she is patriotic, and she in her body she flows the blood of China, and then she can I mean, she does not want anything to do with me, and accusing me, of course, of basically subversion. All right, not patriotic and patriotic. But anyway, I knew where it comes from. This is very, very common in China. We had many since the beginning of the People's Republic of China. Every 10 years, they have some kind of movement. They pick some enemies, all right, and then keep on fighting. This happened. The first movement was to kill all the landowners, all right, and millions of landowners were killed because they say and the communists took their land and so-called they control it. It's really robbery, and then they took all the asset of the businessmen, which is they call they accusing them of everything. So suddenly all the medium and private business, even big business, even big industry like factories, everything become nationalized. And then those people who own the business, of course, like my father, will being pointed as enemy of the people. So my father luckily was able to run away to Hong Kong and restart his business all over again. So, and then after that, all they call anti-rightist movement, which means, the communists claim that left is right, left is good. So they fight, they arrest all the rightists. And my mother was one of the arrested. My mother was a religious and evangelist. They arrested her and gave her 20 years of working camp. So again, you are enemy, and then all your relatives and friends must cut several relationship with you. And after that, of course, is the big leap forward again. And then after there's a cultural revolution. Every time millions of people perish and commit suicide, or they actually execute you. So this kind of breaking the relationship, ask your family and friends to break off the relationship with you, is very, very common in communist kind of persecution. Very common under Stalin and under all communist country. So I understood it right away. So I didn't blame my daughter-in-law. By blaming her or have a fight with her, then I basically break up my family. And my family, of course, Chinese, as you know, are very important. And I am actually a head of a pretty big clan. We have almost 50,000 people near Shanghai. That's where our clan it comes from. So I have to consider the clan should stick together. So I didn't blame her, didn't blame my son at all, because the communists, and then the Hong Kong government working for the communists was behind, forcing her to declare that she no longer has any relationship with me. So this is very typical, and so fortunately or unfortunately, this whole thing goes viral in Hong Kong. So almost we have in Hong Kong altogether about 100 key opinion leaders like me and 𝙒𝙗𝙬. So they all came up to talk and criticizing, of course, my daughter-in-law, or my former daughter-in-law, criticizing her. But then, of course, they didn't know. They'd never gone through communism. They thought it's her fault. So this is the way the communists do. They split your family, all right? So that you blame your daughter-in-law. They want me to blame my daughter-in-law, and everybody point finger at her, so that so split up my family, all right? And I knew where it comes from, so I didn't say one thing. I did about 4 or 5 programs myself and explaining this is behind the scene. Behind the scene, she belonged to a New People's Party. It's the party head, which is pro-communist China, forcing her to do such a thing, to claim credit in front of the communists. Right? So this is the way they do things. And once you are in the communist country, you understand this is very normal to sell out your friend and to force somebody to fight against another. They are very clever. They don't fight you directly. They ask this group to fight with another group. They asked my daughter-in-law actually to fight with me, and I didn't want to get involved. Instead, I told all my audience, it's the communists behind. They are trying to split my family. And I understand it. I know how to fight. But most people would start getting excited and then saying that, it's her fault. No, she's just being used. She's a messenger. You don't shoot the messenger. So this is what I have to say. But I'm telling you that if you let the communists do this one belt, one road on the country, they're going to control like this. This is how they control China with over 1 billion people. They have this kind of work one against the other. And everybody is really a part-time policeman. If you do something wrong, immediately they report you. And then they will go against you. Very much. If you know anything about the Stalin era, this is exactly the same, if not more severe. So it's happening, always happening in China. Now it's being exported to Hong Kong because they took over Hong Kong. If they would have Taiwan, do the same. And we Hong Kong people and Taiwan people, we still have the old Chinese tradition, family value. We have our Chinese universal value also, which is very good. But in the mainland, they have destroyed 100%. People only after power and money. This is what you are facing in the border, in the Indian-Chinese border. These guys have no moral at all, because the family don't teach it, the school don't teach it, they don't teach them anything. So basically, they are only after power and money. Thank you, Suri. Anything else?
Yes, I have one question before I let go of you. The CHIPS Act is now nearing the signature of the President of the United States. What started out as 40 billion, 40, has now ballooned to 280 billion. I don't know how this money is going to be spent. That's a lot of money. But here's the kicker. There appears to be a clause which prevents these companies who are going to get this funding from round tripping. That means they cannot use this money to have developers sit in other countries to work for these fabs. The problem is that, you know, countries like India will suffer because they are basically getting caught in this crossfight. Your thoughts on whether this is possible at all? Because,
No,
there is a
I
lot
don't.
of. Yeah.
I don't understand why you have a problem in India. Can you
Oh,
tell me what is the
oh,
problem with
because
India?
what they're trying to say is to not allow any investment going into the chips companies that are actually getting this funding from taking that money and sending it out of the work needs to stay within US. They're trying to kind of shore up the job, the engineers who work on this, and the intellectual property that is going to be developed based moving forward. Essentially, US has decided that now we are going to own this semiconductor industry. We're going to keep an
Yes.
eagle's eye to make sure nobody else gets it. But how realistic is this? That's my point.
Now, let me tell you, both UMC and TSMC. UMC is very big also. All right, the owner just donated $100 million to Taiwan to fight against the communists. 100 million US dollars. But anyway, what happened? I think what they're trying to do is like UMC and TSMC, they are not qualified because they have factories in China. So they say unless when Pelosi was there, Pelosi actually warned them, you need to close your factory in China in order to qualify. Because both UMC and TSMC trying to open factory in US and to get part of that money. So they are in fact under pressure to close those Chinese factories. Huge. They are talking about huge factory. Intel is selling their factory in Sichuan. All right, because they also, well, if you have a factory in China, you are disqualified. All right, and this is very, very serious. This is why the foreign minister flew all the way to China to negotiate about it, because all the Korean factories still have factories in China, like they are doing the DRAM and also all the memory stuff. Huge amount of production in China from Hynix and also Samsung. So this is a huge problem. I think what US is trying to do is to try to get those factories out of China and then get them to invest in US, and US will subsidize. But I didn't know anything to do with India. This is why when you ask me, I'm kind of a little bit lost. As long as if you are, but I always warned you that as in India, if you cannot cut the relationship with Russia, clean cut, US would never trust you with the chip factory, never mind subsidies.
Well, thank you very much, Elmer, and it was a wonderful discussion. And I think, as a civilization, both China and India share very similar values of family, of culture, and deference to our elders and so on. So let's see how this plays out. Good luck to you, my friend, and we'll again
Thank you.
catch up with you very soon. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to click on the link on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.
Thank you for inviting me.